Well, our guest tonight is a writer, blogger and social media consultant. And when his girlfriend dumped him because he didn't know who he was, Matt Granfield decided he wasn't cool enough. So he embarked on a journey to become the ultimate hipster. And that's the subject of his first book, HipsterMattic. Matt, welcome to The Drum.
Oh, sorry, Tim, I was just having a little Scrabble game with the camera in there.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Those sorts of things are very important on your quest, I'm quite sure. Now, look,
Indeed.
If you wanted to be a hippie in the late 60s, you put flowers in your hair. If you wanted to be a goth in later years, you bought eyeliner and a purple and black wardrobe. But has there ever been a subculture that's required such hard work as being a hipster, do you think?
I think hipsters have changed transport for generations. I think, they get around on bicycles. They have put a lot of time into not caring, which is pretty new for a subculture. I wouldn't say more effort required. I put in a bit of effort, but I haven't had to travel too far, perhaps like the hippies did, and I haven't had to write as much existential poetry as the original hipsters did, who were the beat poets. So yes on some cases, no on some.
So what was the hardest part of this tough quest for you? Was it getting an organic market stall, or getting your flannelette thin enough, as you described, or the knitting? What was the toughest part of your quest?
Look, definitely riding fixed gear bicycles. I think as a mode of transport, they make a lot of sense in that they're environmentally friendly, but once you actually get on one, for your viewers who might not know, they have no brakes and they have only one gear, and this is the hipster's preferred method of transport. So actually cruising around a city like Brisbane, which is quite hilly, you end up with rather large thighs, and when your pant of choice is a skinny jean, there's some bulging, Tim.
So now,
I'll let your viewers... Sorry, yeah?
Yes, that's a lovely picture. How do you deal with the chafing?
Can we tilt down?
Luckily this camera kind of ends about here.
Zoom out.
Organic talcum powder is the best way I've found.
Terrific. We'll find out where to get that later. But noting all of these trials that you detail in achieving ultimate hipsterism, considering how hard it is, how come it is the subculture that doesn't dare speak its name? Because it appears from your book that no one who's done all this work to become a hipster actually wants to admit being one.
Well, the first rule of being a hipster is not to admit you're a hipster, so I've broken some new ground there, and that's been interesting.
Does that disqualify you immediately?
Well, I'm now a reformed hipster, so I'm okay. I can admit to being a former hipster. I don't know. I think the kids of today who have adopted their own little trend against mainstream society have earned their little place and earned their little subculture. So good on them. Good on my former kind.
The other thing that you make out is very difficult about it is everything in hipsterism is ephemeral. I mean, pretty much everything in the book, I should imagine, is out of date by now, all of your tips on how to be a hipster, because none of those things last for how long does the average hipster icon last?
The book came out yesterday, so I reckon I've got probably 24 more hours to milk this, and we'll be okay. I did an interview with another Murdoch publication yesterday in which they asked me what the next trend was, and I was saying, well, it's going to be to look like you're homeless, and that's kind of the new kind of fad. And they changed that to say, homelessness is cool. So homelessness is not cool, but yeah, look, the next fad is well and truly behind us. I think we've probably reached a high watermark in hipster culture. Well,
part way to homelessness, you spent some time in the streets of Sydney recently, I think at the Occupy Sydney rally, did you not?
I wrote a satirical piece suggesting that I did. I was at Occupy Brisbane on the weekend.
Okay. So what was the...
I've been to Occupy Brisbane.
From what you've observed at the Occupy rallies in Australia, what's the best hipster look? What have you got to wear if you want to fit in best at the Occupies?
Well, I think the hipsters all left the Occupy movement soon after it began, after they realised everyone had heard of it. But I think if you wanted to... there's certainly lots of beards at the Occupy movement. I've got a little bit of one going here. If I grow too much more of a beard, I look like I robbed the Glenrowan Hotel. But look, lots of beards, that's what's in, that's what's happening at the Occupy movement.
Okay, it seems that what's out is almost more important to know than what's in with hipsterism. You cite, for example, Ray-Bans with clear lenses, but what else should we know is out most recently?
Is out? Well, I'm wearing a flannelette shirt done up to my top button, so that's out now. You can't see my skinny jeans, but they're obviously out. I'm wearing some skate shoes on my feet with no socks, so they're no longer fashionable.
It's not standard flannelette that you're wearing, is it?
It's a special thin flannelette. The lumberjacks, it's too hot in Queensland for thick flannelette. It's too hot in Australia for thick flannelette. So we've somehow come up with our own special kind of thin-lette. Chanelette, I call it. Chanelette.
Chanelette. Now, setting aside the classic, original, and hilarious idea of pairing a tuxedo top with shorts and thongs to the Melbourne Cup, what would a hipster wear if they could determine that they could be ironic at the Melbourne Cup, which is the key thing, irony, isn't it?
Maybe, I didn't bring this, I just saw that, something like that. A bit of a trucker cap might work well. At the Melbourne Cup, gosh, you probably couldn't find a less hipster occasion than the Melbourne Cup. Horses, hipsters don't like horsepower, so I think if they turn up dressed as a horse, that'd be pretty ironic. Maybe a Sarah Jessica Parker mask or something.
Very nice. In the end, it seems that as you got closer and closer to the ultimate peak of hipsterdom, the most important thing to reach that final level was to be able to very quickly deliver some level of disdain for others who were clambering up the slopes of hipsterdom towards you. How did you develop that skill?
I won't give too much away, but yeah, part of being a hipster is being incredibly judgmental and always wanting to do things first, and so part of that is judging other hipsters for not being as cool as you. I got to that stage in the book and got to the very, very final end of it and ended up in a bar paying out some hearing impaired people and suddenly realised, you know what, this isn't very cool at all, I might end my journey here.
Matt, when it comes to getting a market stall, I think you decided that was a real badge of hipsterism. Is that as easy as you thought it would be?
I had to try. I had to try very hard. There's quite a few markets in Brisbane, and indeed any kind of westernised city around the world. You can't walk down the street without falling over someone selling organic corn holders. But yeah, it was tricky. I was trying to get a craft and organic food stall set up, but no one would let me. The craft stores wouldn't let me have food. The food stores wouldn't let me have craft. So I eventually found a market where I could sell craft and organic basil.
Well, I wish you well with the basil, and I hope to see that you've moved on from just scarf knitting to more exciting projects. Thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to finding out what you've moved on from now that you've outed yourself as a hipster and have to move on. That is all
I'll go
for the
home
drum.
and shave. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks for joining us, Matt. That's all for the drum today. Thanks to the panel as well. Peter Black, Joe Stella, and in Canberra, Latika Burke. Lovely hat, Latika. And you can check out the website at abc.net.au/the drum. We will see you all tomorrow afternoon.